I read every 28 Days Later comic from 2007 to 2011, so you don't have to.
And maybe you're thinking to yourself, I didn't even know that 28 Days Later comics existed. But I'll tell you what, you're missing out.
So let's get you caught up on your 28 Days Later lore right now. In this video, we'll be providing you with an in-depth breakdown of each comic. This video will contain spoilers for these comics, but if you haven't seen 28 Years Later or its sequel, 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, there will not be any spoilers for those movies. And we'll be offering some of our personal thoughts on each comic. So let's get started. The first comic we're looking at is 28 Days Later, The Aftermath. This is from 2007. It was published by Fox Atomic Comics. I'm not even sure if they're still with us anymore. Hold on, let me give that a Google.
If they're still with us? Are they still with us?
So this was published by Fox Atomic Comics, who had a very short run from about 2006 to about 2009. It was written by Steve Niles, known for the original 30 Days of Night comic, which was later turned into a feature film.
The comic is a prequel and an in-between-quel of sorts, between 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later.
It's essentially 4 anthology stories before and after the events of the first movie, with the first story being titled Stage 1 Development. It's basically about these two scientists before the events of the first film, and they're studying humans, trying to figure out what makes people angry and study those specific neurochemicals so they can develop an inhibitor for human rage. A government guy shows up and he has a private conversation with the older scientist, Dr. Warren. He clearly knows more about the project than his associate, Dr. Clive. Clive doesn't want to use human subjects. He'd rather use chimps, but Dr. Warren's like, nah, we got this. Later, they're testing out their quote-unquote rage inhibitor on a criminal subject given to them by the police, and it does exactly the opposite of its intent. Dr. Warren is forced to kill their first human subject before he can fully succumb to their rage inhibitor. They then decide to perform some tests on chimps, but that doesn't go well either. Dr. Clive ends up taking his own life out of shame for his part in the experiment, and the infected chimp kills Dr. Warren.
Next up, we have Stage 2, which is titled Outbreak.
It's set in the opening days of the virus beginning to spread.
We open up on a family having a picnic. It is Roger, Barbara, Sophie, Sid, and the youngest boy, Liam.
Well, they seem like they're having a nice time.
Yeah, it looks really nice. I can't see how anything could possibly
really nice
go
day
wrong.
out. Yeah.
Speaking of things not going wrong, little Liam runs off and sees
the monkey.
a monkey.
Yeah.
Which also, is a chimpanzee a monkey or is a chimpanzee an ape?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, we might have to cut that part out of the video.
Might have to go do some monkey research really quick.
Anyway, of course, this is one of the escaped chimps from the lab, and it attacks poor little Liam.
It's pretty gruesome.
Yeah, it's really gnarly to open up with.
It literally projectile vomits
blood
into
like directly
Liam's
onto him.
face.
Yeah, it's pretty horrific. An ambulance comes and the family follows the ambulance to the hospital. As they're doing this, the effects of the spreading virus are apparent all around them.
Yeah, it seems like those chimps were up to some dirty work.
Yeah, it was going quick. The ambulance comes to an unexpected stop, and little rage virus Liam leaps out of the back, jumps onto the hood of his family's car. They come to a quick stop and throw Liam off, and we cut to days later. Now the family is holed up somewhere, and they decide together to make their escape. But obviously London is pretty crappy right now. They end up next to a bridge, and they see boats alongside in the water. They tell their 2 kids to jump, and that they will hold off the remaining rage virus zombies, which I thought was incredibly silly.
Yeah, they don't last very long.
Yeah, and the guardrail's like right there. They could have just gone with them.
Could have jumped.
It didn't make any sense.
In the third story, this is Stage 3, Decimation. It's a simpler tale. It's set after the events of the first film in London, where a hunter has taken up protecting a specific part of the city, and he encounters a rival hunter. Throughout the comic, he talks about how the infected are able to identify the living by their clean smell, and in the end, he dumps a bunch of perfume on the rival hunter, which gets him killed, like, almost immediately. I guess rage virus zombies aren't the only monsters out there.
The last thing he sees are a bunch of fighter jets approaching, too, which
is
pretty foreboding.
It's a lead into 28 weeks later when the U.S. comes in to repatriate London.
It was pretty funny when he said humans were so ingrained with shampoo and cologne. Not me, though. Rain baths for me only.
I stink to high heavens.
He said, I reek, bro. His name, Hugh Baker.
Hugh Baker?
Hugh Baker.
Moving on.
Moving on. We go on to the last stage of the graphic novel. This one was titled Quarantine. Hugh, the hunter from stage 3, meets Sid, the boy from stage 2, in a quarantine zone. Meanwhile, Clive, the doctor from stage 1, after his failed suicide attempt, also wakes up and meets Sophie, the daughter from the second chapter. And he lets slip that he knows that it is a virus that is causing everything that's going on.
Right.
The four decide to make an escape together and get out of the quarantine zone. While they're doing this, Hugh and Sid pull a Raj and Barb and tell Sophie to go on and they will hold them off. And in the very next panel, they're riddled with bullets. Clive and Sophie do manage to escape. They're huddled together in the woods when Clive tells Sophie that he actually helped to create the virus.
And that it will mutate in the future,
yes.
which is
It does
important
mention mutate.
because when the U.S. comes in to start the repatriation process for London, they think that the rage virus victims are actually dying off and that they are slowly but surely going away. But with this mutation that Dr. Clive is talking about, there will be a resurgence in the rage virus population.
Sophie leans in for a very tender kiss and then shoots him in the head. She stands up and then is promptly shot in the head herself. The end.
Yeah, this was pretty gnarly. I thought this comic made a lot of bold decisions with these characters. It seemed like nobody was really safe at any point, not even like small children.
Every single named character died.
Yeah, actually. Yeah, pretty morbid. Love that.
And having it as an anthology is really nice because you get to see multiple different perspectives of multiple different types of people. And then obviously to have them all come together.
In my opinion, this is a perfect prequel, in-between-quel style comic, given what the films have provided us with so far.
It's interesting to read the whole time.
Right. But yeah, overall, really, really enjoyed this. Solid start for these comics. All right, and moving on. The next series we're looking at is 28 Days Later. This is an ongoing comic published by Boom Studios. We're going to break down the entire series into 6 separate parts, as that's how they were collected in paperback form.
The first arc is called London Calling. It's good to see a little bit of class respect.
Finally.
Finally. It was released in 2009, written by Michael Allen Nelson.
And art by Declan Shelby, who illustrates and writes an Alien comic we will be looking at for next time.
So, this is a sequel series after the events of 28 Days Later, about 2 months to be specific. Our story opens up on what should be a pretty familiar character, Selena, the woman from the very first movie that hangs out with Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, they're hanging out.
Yeah, well, a couple times. They hang out a little bit.
Selena is currently staying at a refugee camp in Norway. After escaping Manchester, she's approached by Clint Harris, an American journalist who wants to get into London. He basically wants to see what the U.S. forces who are helping with the restoration process are doing, and he wants Selena as his guide. They are clearly aware of her legendary backstory from the first movie. She's initially reluctant, but decides to go with Clint and his crew anyways. The crew consists of Derek. He's Clint's best friend and cameraman. There's also Trina, Hirsch, and Acorn. To be honest, I'm not really sure what they do, but they're there, aren't they?
Some of them do some stuff, and Hirsch has beautiful hair.
He's a gorgeous man. The group sets out towards Scotland to then make their way into London from there. They take a helicopter out to the Shetland Islands.
They come into contact with what appears to be the American military, who threaten them pretty much instantly, totally not something the American military would do, and forces them to land, and now they have to continue their journey on foot. Selena immediately takes charge, makes sure that everyone knows that they listen to her because they don't know what they're doing, and she does.
Selena and Derek have a sort of antagonistic relationship with one another, and they're having a hard time getting along.
She leads them to an abandoned hotel. While they're here, however, we find out that the hotel is not abandoned, but actually swarming with the infected.
Yeah, and there's a pretty sweet action sequence in here. We see Selena clearing a parking lot of the infected, and Derek manages to hotwire a van and just ram some with it. Thought it was neat.
We also got a pretty horrifying moment where Hirsch falls into an elevator shaft that is full of infected people.
It's pretty horrifying.
Yeah.
But he's fine.
Until he wasn't.
Yeah, which I thought was silly because there was this whole scene where he's like, nah, it's good. I fell into that elevator shaft, but I didn't get bitten. And then like a few pages later, he's like, oh no, I got bitten by a different thing.
Long story short, Selena kills him pretty quick, much to the chagrin of the reporting crew.
Yeah, Clint, Derek, and Trina all disagree with Selena's split-second decision to kill Hirsch. And she tries to get them to understand that that was the only way and that they aren't waging a normal war here. Trina gets real upset about it. bit. So much so that Trina actually attacks Selena and bites her to make everyone think Selena's infected, but luckily our girl's always wrapped up in leather. The group is forced to make a daring escape to a nearby boat, and they Molotov cocktail everything they leave behind until they make it to their boat. It's pretty intense. On the boat, they manage to pick up some heavy-duty weaponry, but their luck is immediately turned when the U.S. Navy shows up and sends jets after them.
And they actually blow up the boat that everyone is on, and we see that everyone except for Selena, Clint, and Derek die in the explosion. Derek is not exactly in perfect shape, though.
Yeah, you get some pretty nasty retina burning happening and some pretty terrible wounds across his eyes. And by some miracle, they ended up on the mainland. They make camp once they get a little further inland, and Selena questions Clint about what they're going to do about Derek's blindness. Clint is disgusted by Selena's suggestion, but Selena points out that they only have a single machete, a Desert Eagle pistol, and a long way to go to London. All right, and the next arc we're looking at is Bend in the Road. This is issues 5 through 8 of the ongoing series. It's set immediately after the events of London Calling, picks up Selena, Clint, and Derek's adventure as they make their way to London. In the beginning, we see some flashbacks of how Clint and Derek first got into this whole mess, which I thought gave their characters a bit more depth than I appreciated the look in. The group is continuously being hunted by infected, and Derek's wounds are getting worse. To add to all that craziness, they run into some non-infected people who don't take too kindly to them at first. They're then taken back to a house where they meet Kate, and they manage to make a deal with Kate. Basically, there's a drugstore a few hours down the road where conveniently Kate's son, Douglas, is trapped. So Selena and Clint head out to get the antibiotics for Derek and save Kate's son in the meantime. Clint and Selena manage to rescue the boy by the skin of their teeth and manage to secure the drugs for Derek, with only a few scares and infested mobs here and there. They then bring Kate's son back to her, and Selena declares that they will be staying with Kate and her family until Derek has had time to heal, which causes a little bit of tension between Kate and Selena.
The next arc in the series is called Hot Zone. Once again, we pick up right where the previous arc left off. Kate's son Douglas expresses a desire to go with Selena when they leave, saying that he hates his mom and doesn't want to stay anywhere near her.
I don't want to be with my mom. I'd rather go out in the zombie apocalypse than stay here.
Which is not the vibe that I got from him in the issue right before.
No, he seemed like a little bitch.
Yeah, he was like, Mom, Mom, Mom. So I'm confused as to where they decided that he hates his mom.
Anyways.
Obviously, Kate's not a very big fan of this, but there's not really much she can do, and the group leaves, taking Douglas with them. On their journey, they're forced to come to a stop when more unidentified military members show up. They hide in the woods while the military searches for them, but they quickly give up and go on their way. This forces the group to kind of continue on foot as they now want to stay off the roads because they've overheard that they are actively being hunted by these people.
This is also the arc where we are formally introduced to what I would call the series' main antagonist in Captain Styles.
He's kind of British Quaritch from Avatar.
Yeah,
that's the vibe he gave.
Younger British Quaritch.
Yeah, that's the vibe he gave for sure.
He is specifically hunting down Selena for reasons that will become apparent later.
The group finds another convenient little house to stay in overnight where they come into contact with a couple more of these unidentified men and see that they are rounding up infected. They say that the way that they're doing it is a little too slow and to go with a different plan and then promptly light the entire forest on fire.
That'll work.
And we say that ironically, but it did. They lit the forest on fire too well. The group is herded by the flames along with every infected that was in that forest into the only clear space where a unit of the military is waiting for them. They are taken captive and brought to a base where there is a doctor,
Dr. Billingsworth,
that seems to be conducting experiments on the infected people. He originally was going to continue his experiments on Selena before finding out her name, telling her that there is someone in particular that wants her and that instead she'll just have to watch. And they bring poor little baby boy Douglas into the room and Billingsworth injects him with the virus.
It's pretty terrible.
Yeah, I was sad. Douglas didn't deserve all that.
Yeah, this comic does not hold anything back.
While all this is going on, the fire outside is kind of raging out of control and it's approaching the compound that they're at, and it forces them to start an evacuation. During this evacuation, Selena manages to escape from her confine, hunts down Dr. Billingsworth amidst the wreckage, puts poor Douglas out of his misery, and then immediately spins around and flings the blood into the eyes of the doctor and his guard, and leaves him to burn in the flames before making her escape.
Bitch. Yeah, and there's a pretty gnarly scene where all the soldiers are evacuating the base, and their helicopter just gets swarmed with infected. It's
Selena releases all of the test subjects and sends them at the helicopter.
Yeah, it's pretty satisfying. And then they hop in a Humvee and drive on out of
They
there.
boogie on out of there.
Which leads us into the next arc, Gang War. So after escaping the research camp, Selena, Clint, and Derek, their Humvee eventually gets a flat, and they're forced to find other means of transportation. Derek mentions that he has a passion for engineering after his father.
Something to do with trains.
Yeah, his dad did something with trains, and Derek knows a little bit about trains. So Derek poses the idea for them to take a train the rest of the way. They commandeer a train. Derek manages to get it working despite him being blind.
Very impressive guy Derek is.
Yeah. He's not letting blindness slow him down. But they manage to get the train going. But of course, there's tons of infected aboard the train. Derek comes to the conclusion that he has to make a tough decision and sacrifice himself to disconnect the cars connecting to the front of the train, allowing for Selena and Clint to escape. And as far as sacrifices go, it's a pretty good one.
Pretty powerful moment.
Yeah. So Derek's out, and Selena and Clint continue into Edinburgh. Selena and Clint discovered that the citizens of Glasgow and the citizens of Edinburgh are currently in a resource war and have been waging this war pretty much since the infection broke out, with one of the residents of Edinburgh crowning himself King Dixon.
Dixon what?
Wouldn't you like to know? Clint and Selena stop into a deserted pub, and they pour one out for Derek, R.I.P. Later, they're ambushed by a couple of survivors from the Edinburgh faction, and they're brought before King Dixon so that he may pass his judgment on them. Meanwhile, while that's happening, we cut back to Captain Styles, who is slowly but surely making up ground on Selena and Clint's trail. We'll get back to him in a second. Upon meeting King Dixon, you learn he is a complete arsehole right out of the gate. Got no respect for anybody. Is even actively cucking one of the dudes in his royal court.
Yeah, and he also has beautiful hair.
Also has beautiful hair.
I'm noticing a trend here.
As punishment for stealing the king's liquor back at the pub, King Dixon demands that Selena do the mannequin challenge.
24-hour mannequin challenge.
Yeah. Basically, he wants her to stand in the middle of a red circle within a cage, and if she moves even slightly, she will get touched or bitten by an infected.
Horrific imagery, by the way. That entire sequence.
I thought it was a great idea.
It's, yeah, like every page that it showed that, it just like made my skin crawl.
Yeah, I thought it was a great idea for a torture device to be used in this universe.
Yeah.
Really unique thinking from King Dixon there.
Like physical, psychological, like it had everything.
It's
Dixon's a sick motherfucker.
Yeah, and while Selena is doing the mannequin challenge, she actually suffers some hallucinations where she sees a lot of the people that she's lost along the way, and she kind of wants to just give up right there, but they encourage her to keep on going. And throughout the comic, we actually get several flashbacks to Selena's time pre-outbreak, where she was happily married to her husband, David. And we get a little bit more backstory on what happened to David a little bit later on. So King Dixon also forces Selena to give up her earrings, which were given to her by her late husband, David. She's initially very reluctant to do so, but ends up giving in to just get this whole thing over with. Before the 24 hours are up, the Glasgow faction actually manages to find Selena and free her from the mannequin challenge. And then a fight between the two factions ends up breaking out. Selena manages to go back and snag her earrings, and her and Clint flee Edinburgh in a stolen car.
Moving on to Ghost Town, Ryan.
Ooh, spooky.
It consists of issues 17 to 20. As is common in this series, Clint and Selena have found another abandoned home to stay in for a little bit of safety. This time, however, Selena feels off pretty much right away. She feels something isn't right. But a lot of those fears are soothed away by a hot bath thanks to Clint's ingenuity with a water heater.
Yeah, they seemingly have a pretty nice day. Like they're walking along in a big open field. It's a nice, bright and sunny day. They find a peach tree and just like enjoy some peaches and like lay in the shade for a little bit.
This is a good little moment because we kind of get to see Clint and Selena interact in a way where they're not actively fearing for their life. And we can kind of see that they're building up quite a little bit of chemistry.
Yeah, there's some nice moments of levity here.
Mm-hmm. But the morning always comes. And when it does, Selena and Clint go to leave, but find that the keys to their truck are missing. Cut to our scary villain, Styles, watching them from a window from across the street.
He knows what he's doing.
He knows what he's doing. He's like, oh, they're going to look over here and be so scared. And you know what? He was right, because they pretty much hide in bushes until nighttime comes.
Yeah, and they manage to trick him.
And escape. On the road, they encounter another group of unidentified soldiers, but these ones do them the favor of informing them that they are, in fact, American. They say that they will help them get to London, but of course, nothing good can happen in this universe, and immediately Styles shows up and goes 1v4 and kills the entire unit.
Just goes absolutely ballistic. They escape Captain Styles, they steal his Humvee, and they drive off towards their destination, eventually approaching a dock where they then ditch the Humvee into the water and decide to continue their trip by boat, thinking that they will be safe from Infected and Captain Styles. Little do they know, Captain Styles, also an Olympic level athlete apparently.
How did he get there?
He swims out after them and just gets onto their boat.
And then he aura farms. Here, Styles starts to reveal why he is hunting Selena. He lets loose that he is a friend of Harry West, who was the leader at Worsley House, the setting to the climax of 28 Days Later, who, of course, was killed by Selena.
So Captain Styles, turns out he's out for some revenge.
He kidnaps Selena and takes her to Worsley House. Simultaneously, Clint and a second unit of Americans are attempting to track them down. Once they arrive at Worsley House, Styles slings some pretty nasty threats and does some pretty nasty things. Styles forces Selena to take him to what is presumed to be the body of West. While there, she takes the dog tags off of his body and throws them out into a field that if you've seen the movie, you might recognize. Styles demands that she goes and gets the dog tags, but Selena refuses and Styles stalks out to go get him. Of course, he steps right onto a bouncing Betty mine and blows himself to high heaven.
Yeah, results in a pretty comedic death.
Which is good because it diminishes him and shows him as like he got embarrassed by Selena here. Like, what? That's a good plan.
Well, one thing this comic pretty firmly establishes is that she is a certified badass.
Dude, every moment she's on screen, she's doing something
There's some
cool.
really cool panels of her in here, and they nailed her design as well.
The mask and the goggles,
Yeah.
she looks sick.
She's looking good.
Obviously, this explosion is pretty large, so Clint and his merry group of American soldiers see it and arrive to, once again, save Selena.
Yeah. And Selena's rescued, which leads us into the final arc of the series, Homecoming. This is issues 21 through 24. It shows Selena and Clint finally making it into London, which has been taken over by U.S. forces in hopes of reviving the city now that the infected have seemingly started dying off. We actually see in 28 weeks later this happening. At this point in the book, it seems like the comic has actually caught up to 28 weeks later, and the rest of these issues actually take place concurrently with 28 weeks later. After spending a bit of time in the Green Zone, Clint and Selena quickly fall in love and begin to settle into their new, quiet, and peaceful life. Selena knows that she isn't intending to stay. Selena actually leaves the Green Zone and heads out on her own to complete her own personal quests. While all that's happening, Clint manages to steal a phone from a soldier, contact his editor, and really start to put his story together. After sneaking out of the Green Zone, Selena makes her way back to her and her late husband David's old home, where she finds the corpse of her dead husband right where she left it. We get a flashback in this arc detailing the events leading right up to David's death while the infection was breaking out, and it's pretty tragic.
Yeah, really sad.
And upon revisiting their home, she proceeds to bury his body and lay him to rest. She then has a nice quiet moment on his burial spot before torching her old house and her old life completely to the ground and walking away.
While all this is going on with Selena, the events of 28 weeks later are starting in earnest back at the Green Zone. Clint sees that everyone is in a bit of a tizzy and eventually finds out that someone has left the Green Zone. He believes that Selena has been caught, but you actually find out that it's just the two children from 28 weeks later who left the Green Zone to attempt to find something to remember their mother by. Obviously, this means that everything's about to pop off. If you have seen the movie, you know exactly what I mean. Essentially, the virus spreads through the Green Zone and the military starts to purge the city of everyone. Living, infected, doesn't matter.
Yeah, basically the events of the movie 28 weeks later start to play out, but from Clint's perspective.
Keeping with the rest of the series, Selena makes her way back to Clint and rescues him once again from the green zone. There's a pretty nasty stuff here where they get gassed and they have to cover their faces with pee-soaked rags to keep the gas from being breathed in, which, like, wow, I think I just would have let myself die.
That's some Bear Grylls type shit right
really,
there.
really nasty stuff. But we get another nice little scene of them kissing. And at this point, you can really see that Clint and Selena have fully fallen in love. Clint says that he has one more plan, and the next thing you know, they are on yet another boat. They have made their way all the way to France. While they're in France, they are given passports by the embassy to return to the US. As they are leaving, their flight is delayed, and they learn that a helicopter has crashed at the airport. The plane is then given clearance to leave, and as they are flying away, the last thing that we, the viewers, see is a horde of infected on the tarmac at the airport. Much like the ending to the movie 28 weeks later.
And they do end up making it out just in time.
Thankfully. It makes me very happy to know Selena and Clint lived the rest of their lives comfortably in the United States.
Seemingly so. Final thoughts, Ty?
Yo, this was gas, Ryan. This was gas.
I really enjoyed this, actually, like a lot more than I thought I would.
I inhaled these at an alarming speed. I think I read the entire thing in like 3.5 hours.
This actually might be my favorite 28 Days Later piece of media, period. I like the movies, but this to me, it just had more fleshing out of everything. And not only that, I just feel it also had a lot of nice personal moments. It had some great action. There was some really gory and gnarly imagery in this book. It was really bold with just taking chances and killing characters and making decisions. And
yeah, I'm with you. It was awesome.
yeah, and normally we give like a yes, no type review on these videos, but because there are so few of these, essentially just the graphic novel and the 24 issue series, we're just going to straight recommend all of this.
This is a blanket yes.
Yeah, I think that if you are a fan of the 28 days / weeks / years franchise, you will enjoy this. Even if you're not a fan of the movies, this actually might be a great introduction into the franchise because it's just a good zombie book, I think.
It is. You don't have to have seen any of the movies for this book to work.
Not at all.
If you have, you get little extra bits that make certain parts a little more exciting, or you can resonate with the character a bit more.
Yeah.
But it's not necessary at all. It creates its own plot, and that's really masterfully done.
But yeah, that's every 28 Days Later comic from 2007 all the way to 2011. Short-lived run.
Yeah, which is a shame because I could read, 100 more issues of this.
Definitely.
So bring it back.
That's going to do it for this video. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you stopping by and watching. If you're interested, we've also covered every single Predator comic, every Avatar comic, and every Stranger Things comic. Those videos will be linked at the end if you want to go check those out. And we are planning on doing more in the very near future. And we got a few other videos planned in the interim. So subscribe and come back for that. And before you go, don't forget to leave a like on this video.
Also, remember to check out our new Discord. It's going to be the only place where you can get kind of sneak peeks at what we're doing here and there. It's not overly packed with content yet, but we're making our way through it.
Yeah, so get in there, join the community, chat with us. We'd love to see you there. And personally, I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts on these comics. Have you read them? Are you planning on reading them? Let us know. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Ryan, do you have anything else to say?
No.
You bastard.
Goodbye.
I love you.